I'm Guyton Montgomery here with Jerod Morris. We both work here at Scott's Outdoors, and we're here to talk about kind of the basics of dove hunting. And you've dove hunted quite a few years, haven't you?
I have. I was brought up dove hunting from a kid right on up to where I'm at today.
And see, that's really different because my background is more, I always wanted to hunt, didn't get too much until I was about 18 years old. And my first dove hunt was probably about 8 years ago, and I had no idea what to do. And I honestly, I was in my 30s, and I was a little embarrassed to ask, but I had to.
We have a lot of people actually that come in the store that has never hunted before, looking for advice, looking for the right direction to go, instead of buying everything, finding out it doesn't work. So we get a lot of customers coming in, basically asking for advice.
All right, so the basics of it. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, my first dove hunt, had a great time. It was with Jerod. I took both my boys. I think we got the leftover spots because we were kind of at the edge of where they bush hogged.
Yeah.
And they were along the tree line, and we didn't have nearly as many birds our way, and we killed one bird. Now, Daddy always taught me if we were going to kill an animal, the rules for our household was it had to be a nuisance or it had to be something that we were going to eat.
Yes.
So I took that one dove home. I had already looked up recipes thinking I was going to come home with this just a whole slew of birds, right? And so I went home and I stuffed it with cream cheese. I wrapped it in bacon, and I put that one dove on the grill, grilled it, and then my whole family, they just came out to the grill. So the four of us, we sat there and we all got one bite of dove.
That just hurt your feelings even more from there.
It does. So dove season's coming up, and when does it actually start?
Alabama has a split season. Their first season comes in September the 3rd, which is not tomorrow, but the following Saturday. That's called the Northern Zone. Then we also have the Southern Zone, which comes in the 15th of September. Now, Florida is a little bit different. I believe it comes in somewhere around the 23rd, 24th of September. On opening days of dove season, though, you're only allowed to hunt from 12 o'clock to sunset. You can't hunt first thing in the morning on opening day. So there are some rules that you really need to check with your states that you live in to make sure you follow them correctly.
All right, and that's really easy. Now, if you go to our Facebook page here at Scott's Outdoors, I did do a posting that had links to that. Just look for the picture of the dove, look in the description there, and you can click and you can find all that information online. But as always, make sure you have the right license. And dove hunting just normally, does a standard hunting license cover dove hunting?
Standard hunting license will cover dove hunting. You just make sure you click on the migratory bird part of it, because they like to know, especially Alabama, I'm not sure about Florida. Alabama, they want to know, did you hunt birds on the last season, and how many birds did you kill? So they like to keep track of it.
So if you're like me, you'd put one.
Yes, normally that's what I put.
But you know, one of the cool things about dove hunting, I realized, it's really a type of hunting that's more camaraderie.
It is.
Going out with a bunch of guys.
It is. When you actually, dove is not something you just go out and hope to kill. A lot of guys now, they prepare their season for dove hunting. They plant the right foods, millet, sunflowers. They get it all prepped, and they're trying to draw birds into their property. And it's if you can get on a good dove shoot, it is a lot of fun. It's something awesome to take your kids, your wife with, because you can do it as a family. And with kids, take plenty of shells, because all they're going to want to do is shoot, and that's the whole point of it, letting them have fun. Same thing with any type of hunting.
Exactly. And so, you know, you might not have a field, but start looking into your local areas. I know if you happen to be here around Jay, Florida, come to the shop, talk to Jerod, talk to Scott, Sweeney, talk to Steven. A lot of times they know about places and can point you in the right directions to find clubs, find people that are willing to take in others in order to hunt. In fact, I think I heard Jim and Mark actually joined a club just for that.
Yes, there are clubs that are strictly for dove hunting, and they take limited numbers. Now, also, if you know a farmer, especially if he's planted corn corn or peanuts. If you can go to that farmer and ask, hey, can I have some dove hunting rights once you pick your crops? And a lot of them, they say yes. And that'll give you a place that you can go. Will there still be dove there? Who knows? But it still gets you outdoors and have fun with the family.
Okay. So if I'm going to start dove hunting, let's just start with the basics. I got to have my license.
Yes.
And then I'm getting ready to go. This may sound silly, but what do I wear? Because that's one of the things I kind of wondered my first time.
You want to wear either camo or a neutral color. Tan, OD green. A lot of guys wear camo. It's going to be hot, so dress for hot weather. Make sure you take plenty of water with you. But the basics is more of a neutral color, brown, tans. Don't wear blacks because you stand out. Don't wear any whites, any fluorescent colors. Dove hunting, you're not required to have to wear fluorescent orange like you do when you deer hunting. So you want to be able to hide as much as you can from them, because even though they're high and they're flying fast, they can still see very well.
So things that are going to blend in, are there any certain patterns that might work better than others, or just?
No, not really, because a lot of the times you get out there, it's either a bush hog field or crops that they've cut down, so a lot of guys like to use like mossy oak or real tree camo.
Okay, so I've got my license, I know what I'm going to wear, certainly need something to shoot the doves with.
Yes.
Now, of course, if you've never done this before, that's going to be a shotgun. I don't know, unless you're like an ace of a shot and you want to like use a 22. No, you don't. You don't take a 22.
Don't take a 22. You'll find out the game warden will like you a lot with tickets.
So let's be clear. We're taking a shotgun. What gauge am I really looking towards?
For somebody that's just starting out, a lot of guys use 12 gauge or 20 gauges.
Okay.
We can get into a lot of technical stuff, but I want to kind of keep it as real as we can. So 20 gauge or 12 gauge, you can shoot some low brass shot, which is the cheapest, but you won't get the best pattern and you can't reach the birds that's flying high. So you really need to shoot some type of high brass shot in 20 gauge, like 20 gauge number 8s, or 12 gauge 7.5s or 8s is ideal for dove hunting.
I went over the shelf. I just grabbed some boxes. Could I use this 6-shot, or is that?
You could. That would be more for rabbit or quail or something of that nature.
I noticed there's bigger birds on this one, so
yes.
I really want to go down more 8-shot, 7.5.
Yes.
Did you tell me some people use 6-shot even sometimes?
Sometimes.
No, that's 6.
Yeah.
So.
Majority of the people's going to use either 7.5s or 8s. That's what majority of the people uses whenever it comes to dove hunting. You want as many pellets as you can flying up the tree. I mean, you don't want any gaps in your pattern. So we have a lot of issues with people just buying a gun and going out hunting and they missing. Well, it can fall down to the choke system that's inside of the gun.
So we talked about, all right, we can use a 12 gauge, we can use 20 gauge, most likely recommended.
Yes.
Young son, I know I took him out when he was really pretty young still. I gave him a 410 to use just because it gave him something to shoot, made him feel apart. So if you got a young hunter, does it hurt to do that?
No, it does not. 410 is more for a seasoned hunter. You won't see very many people out hunting. But for a kid, just to give him something to take, a single shot 410, he will have a ball whether he hits a bird or not. He actually gets a chance to shoot at something. So he will really love it.
Now, if you have, whenever it comes to the gun that we're actually using, 12 gauge, 20 gauge recommended. What about pump versus semi-automatic versus double barrel, over under? Is there?
Doesn't matter. Any of them will work. The only thing that you really have to pay attention to with the automatic and with the pump is you're only allowed 3 shots. So you have to put a plug inside of the magazine tube, and you can only hold 2 rounds in the tube, 1 round in the chamber. That's your 3 shots.
Okay, very, very important that you understand, because when we got done with that shoot, we all looked around, and for those, if you're watching Court Hunt, it was very interesting that the game warden showed up after you left, and that the game warden's wife happened to work for you. But anyway, he showed up, and one of the young guys was there, and he didn't have a plug in it. luckily the guy was really awesome. He said, here, he took a tree branch, he
Yes.
whittled it down, showed him how to put it in, and we avoided a ticket that day, and instead the game warden chose to educate us
Yes.
about what needed to happen.
Yes.
All right, so we know what gun we got. We talked about the shot, high brass versus low brass. What's my benefit of high brass again?
The benefit of high brass is it gives you a little bit more power to penetrate the feathers on the bird and gives you an opportunity to shoot a bird that's further or higher up in the sky. You just have a better advantage all the way around with high brass.
Okay, so high brass doesn't have to be an expensive one necessarily?
No, it does. It doesn't really matter. Winchester, Fiocchi, Rio is all really great game loads. You can get them in low brass. You can get them 12 gauge. You can get 1 ounce. You can get 1 ounce and 1/8, or you can get 1 ounce and 1/4. So it gives you 3 steps to actually go up, with the 1 ounce being the cheapest and the 1 1/4 ounce being the most expensive and most powerful.
Okay, so just some things to think about for your price range. That's one of the things I like about this. It can be, at times, like with any hunting, it can be expensive, but
Yes.
you can kind of limit down your expense with dove hunting.
You can, yes, and it's something great to really get started into if you're a first-time hunter. You don't really have to worry about buying a $1,200 shotgun. You can go out there with a single barrel, $150 single barrel,
Wow.
and have fun out shooting birds. And like you said a while ago, you can use double barrel, single barrel, over and unders, pumps, automatics, as long as it is a shotgun caliber. Majority of the people around this area is either 12 gauge or 20 gauge. They do sell some other calibers. They sell a 28 gauge, they sell a 16 gauge, and they do a 410. You normally don't see guys do a lot of dove hunting with those other 3 calibers, but you can if that's all that you have.
Well, let me ask you this: day of the hunt, I'm coming in getting ready. How many shells would you recommend I take that day? That old adage, better have not need than need not have. But when you're carrying a bunch of shells, you don't necessarily want to carry a bunch of extra weight with you when you're walking.
And that's the thing is, I know you got it set over there too, a stool would help you out tremendously. If you brought a stool, you could put all your ammo inside of the stool and actually tote it. This is just a single tripod stool. Great for just sitting up in the bushes.
Because you want a place to sit when you go out there.
Yes, you want a place to sit. We have bags. We have a vest that you can actually put your shot into.
All right.
Now, as far as how many rounds do you want to take, that really all depends on how good of a shot you are.
Okay.
Some people can go out with 20 rounds and come back with 15 birds and have ammo left over. Someone like me, I may have to take 4 or 5 boxes and still not get my limit.
So it doesn't hurt to carry some. I know what I carried the first time. This is fancier than the one I carried. To sit on, I carried a bucket. It's a 1-gallon bucket. I had the regular plastic lid. This one has some padding to the top of it. But what we did is we cut a hole in part of that lid so we could reach down as we were sitting there on it. And so you don't have to buy something expensive.
No, you do not. Some of these, I was raised up hunting on one of these. And inside of the one my grandpa that got me started into it was foam, and you put ice and water into it. Or you could take your doves, put them in a plastic bag, and put them in it to keep them from being burnt by the heat. So even with a plastic bucket is perfect. You don't need a backrest because you're going to be spinning around shooting, because it don't say that the birds are going to come in one direction. They may come from behind you, to your right, your left, in front of you. So having a bucket or something with a spinning top is a great advantage for dove hunting.
All right, so let me ask you this now. So I've got my shells, I got my shotgun, I'm dressed, I got my license, if it's semi-automatic, I got my plug in there, I'm ready to go. I go out to the field. How do I know if it's a dove versus some other bird?
Well, you really have to kind of closely pay attention, because when you're out in a field that is drawing birds, you're going to draw all kind of birds. You're going to draw red birds, cardinals, you're going to blue jays, grass birds. You got your mourning dove and also what we call a Mexican dove. And a Mexican dove is the same shape as a dove but smaller. Some places even have pigeons that fly by. So you just kind of really have to know. Majority of your dove, you're looking for a gray bird that is slick looking and can fly really fast and agile.
All right, so it's going to swoop down. A lot of times you got other people around.
Yes.
Let's talk safety for just a minute.
Yes.
How do we make sure that we all go home at the end of the day? Because honestly, I was a little worried about that. I was watching my sons to make sure that they were being safe the whole time. And in all outdoor sports, we want to emphasize safety.
Yes, most definitely. With dove hunting, you have got to pay attention to your right and to your left and in front of you. And you have to actually look around you and say, okay, I don't need to shoot lower than this angle because I'm above everybody's head. You want to stay as high up as you can. You don't want to shoot ground level or eye level because that pattern, that shot will go towards somebody else. Even though this is a shotgun, you think, well, it won't go about 30, 40 yards. It can go as far as 100 yards. Okay. But the further it goes, the more it spreads. It only takes one pellet to put somebody's eye out or cause severe eye damage. So now when you're in a dove field, be prepared, because when you have people around you shooting up in the air, the shot's going up, it has to come down. You will get peppered with it, but it's like falling from the sky. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to sting you. It's not going to do anything.
It's just a little bit of gravity.
Yes, it's just gravity fed back down.
All right, so don't be surprised on that, but we want to make sure that we're high enough.
Yes.
And you have that line and you know this is where my gun has got to be.
Yes.
So that I'm not shooting, because at all times we never put a gun, whether it's loaded or unloaded, we always treat firearms as if they are loaded.
Yes.
And we never point it in the direction of somebody. And this is very, very important, because we're not wearing bright orange out there as that reminder. You want to make sure you're pointing up.
And when you're out dove hunting, it's a great time to take a child or a young person with you to teach them that fundamental. To teach them, say, okay, this is how you need to handle the gun. If you're walking up, crossing a fence to get into the field, that's a perfect time to teach them. Before you cross that fence, you unload your gun, you lay it on the ground on the other side of the fence, you cross the fence, pick the gun up, and take it. So dove hunting is a great time to use it as a training system for your child or young person that you take with you.
Okay. So let me ask you this, because I never heard of this until starting working here at Scott's Outdoors. You hear the stuff going on around, because I mean this is a store. That's what we do. Everybody that works here is involved in outdoors in some way. Our staff are professionals, and they know what they're doing on this. I just love working here because I'm just gleaning from them, from their years of experience. But I'd never seen decoys before.
Yes.
And you got one like this that, obviously has a clip and it doesn't have wings, and then you got ones like this and they have wings. When would you use decoys?
Anytime that you can go hunting, as long as the law permits it. This is another thing that you really have to check on with your state that you reside in the county. They are legal to use. The Mojo movable dove, the wings actually spin, so it gives that appearance of a dove lighting in the field. These are more stationary, like sitting on a power line or sitting on a limb. But there are some clubs that have basically outlawed them. You're not allowed to use them for that safety reason, because when a dove actually flies by and they see these, they actually want to go fast down to the ground and get down there to them birds. And as you're looking at them and you start following them down, now you've come eye level, and now you've put people around you in jeopardy by using them. So there is a lot of safety precautions when using them.
So that's a great point. The doves a lot of times will be coming downward with or without these. And so keep that in mind if you're coming down. Where is that point of the line I don't cross?
Yes, keep that aim, and you got to pay attention to what's behind it.
All right, so this is the basics of dove hunting. A lot of you guys, you probably know some of this, but hunting the outdoors to me always brings me closer to God, to nature, to family, and I just love it. And I know dove hunting was a great experience for me. I look forward to doing it in the future. We just hope this helps you somehow. If you have questions, come in and talk to our staff. I guarantee you, any one of these guys will talk to you. I think you helped somebody yesterday.
Actually, I did. I had a young gentleman that came in probably in his 30s that's never hunted a day of his life, and he owned some property. He wanted to get into archery, So I took the opportunity to walk over with him and show him what a great starter bow would be, still staying below that high expensive bow, because you don't ever know if you're going to like it once you get into it. I took the time with him to go show him the climbers, something that would be safe for him to use, weight-wise, everything. We came back in and we looked at clothing. He was thinking that he was going to have to spend a lot of money for clothing when he found out it's pretty cheap for your basic stuff. So we was able to walk through with him and give him some great insight on what it's going to take to get started with archery hunting and the products and the material that he needs to stay safe while doing it.
We hope you have a great dove season. If you've never dove hunted before, highly encourage you to try it. It's a great experience. Go find an experienced hunter that'll be able to take you under his wing.
I
like
mentor.
that?
I do.
You see that under his wing?
I do.
And he'll be able to help you see what a great sport this is.